I am Dr. Veronica Anderson, and this is about stress, hormones, and health, the true cause of belly fat. What does stress, hormones, and health have to do with your body and your disease states and your wellness? Well, just about everything, because hormones rule your body. They tell your body what to do. And if they're out of balance, you'll have assorted types of medical conditions. And let's talk about how to know what's going on between your stress and your hormones, but also what you can do about it. So meet Sir William Osler. He's a doctor, Dr. Sir William Osler, and he is one of the four men who founded Johns Hopkins Medical Schools, arguably one of the best medical schools in the United States, if not the world. And Sir William Osler says one of the first duties of the physician is to educate the masses not to take medicine. Well, wow. How did we get so far from that? You go to your doctor's office today, and usually what happens is the prescription pad comes out. We've come to that. In fact, a lot of people go in and they pretty much expect it and demand that their doctors write a prescription that will cure their illness, but yet they find out when they take this medicine that they're on it forever a lot of times, and they have not gotten a cure, and maybe they've gotten even more side effects from that medication than they got benefit from it. So where have we come from and where are we going? Let's talk about this in this webinar. So 85% of all medical procedures and surgeries are scientifically unproven. Where did that come from? British Medical Journal studied what was going on, especially in Western medicine. Know that a lot of the procedures we have come across by accident. Somebody tried something and said, hey, this might work. But also, there are a lot of procedures and medications that we find and we use on what's called off-label. We use them we find a side effect, we find some type of benefit when they're used on the masses, and we start using it as treatment. So 90% of all the disease prevalent today are not treatable with orthodox medical procedures. So think about your high blood pressure, your diabetes, your asthma, your heart disease, your kidney disease, and think about if they are curable with the orthodox medical procedures that you know about, a surgical procedure or a medication. Are they cured, or are we just putting a Band-Aid on it? And I think most people will agree that when they go to the doctor's office, it gets a Band-Aid put on it, but there's no cure. And this is something that the World Health Organization has realized. So a lot of medications that we take have reactions to them and side effects. Severe allergic reactions can cause death, if not these other annoying things: muscle pain, tenderness, weakness, urination, blisters of the skin, itching, hives, your throat can close up, tightness, and one of the severe allergic reactions is actually death. Well, there's a very common medication today that many people are on in the United States, in the Western world, which has major side effects of liver problems and muscle breakdown. And sometimes that muscle breakdown can be so bad, it can lead to kidney failure. Well, what is this common medication that we're giving to people? Well, Lipitor. And let me just tell you a little bit about Lipitor. Did you think you found out you had a cholesterol problem, and the doctor said, let's go on this Lipitor or another statin to lower your cholesterol? But I want to tell you one thing you need to understand about cholesterol. Cholesterol is not the cause of heart disease. Elevated cholesterol is a marker for inflammation in the body. And the reason why cholesterol clogs the blood vessels is because the blood vessels end up being sticky because they're inflamed, and as cholesterol is going through, the cholesterol sticks on and clogs the arteries. Well, is this cholesterol, is it good or bad? Cholesterol is necessary in your body. Eggs may be the perfect food. Why is cholesterol necessary? Because it is required to make many of your hormones, such as cortisol, your stress hormone, and your sex hormones, progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, and you know how important those are. So when people have elevated cholesterol, it's really a marker for inflammation. But I have another news flash for you. Reported by the Journal of the American Medical Association back in 1995 that there is no evidence linking high cholesterol levels in women with heart disease. No evidence. Well, what is causing heart disease in women? Usually when your arteries are spasming, that's what's causing heart disease in women, which is very different than being clogged with cholesterol. So a lot of women who are on statins or cholesterol lowering drugs, we're really missing the boat a lot of times with them. And so therefore you have to understand that you've been given a lot of wrong information or you've been lacking information. Now, we're in a health crisis in America today. And a lot of times people are being lied to. They're not getting the whole story about this cholesterol, about what is actually causing disease and what you can do about it. And there's big money behind this, and you already know this. There's big money behind it by pharmaceutical companies. There have been CEOs of hospitals who said, what do you got to do? You got to fill up my emergency room because this is how we get paid. There's big money in being sick. There's not big money in wellness necessarily, which is what I'm going to talk to you more about as we go along in this webinar. And so if you wonder what is happening here, there's a lot of money in you taking all those pharmaceuticals that you see on TV on the commercials. And guess what? Did you notice that over half the commercials usually telling you about the side effects as the nice music is playing, as people are strolling along? So you're not getting the whole story or you're being lied to. I just showed you that report that's been out since 1995. And yet most people haven't heard anything about it. There's a very good book called The Cholesterol Myth that I recommend that people read. And I've interviewed the gentleman who wrote this book on my radio show to talk about this whole cholesterol issue if you're interested. What else? You're not giving the right information. Well, in this picture, you'll see this is an ab exerciser. And what's going on with the ab exerciser? I'm sure many of you have tried to spot reduce your stomach. And what happens is nothing happens. That's why this chair ends up being the clothes hanger. Well, why do you do that? Because you've been taught that if you exercise enough and if you eat little enough, that you're going to lose weight. Guess what? That information is actually wrong. Most people need to eat more food, the right food in the right amounts at the right time, more of it. And the exercise that's necessary for you to lose weight, if you're going to use it for weight loss, is usually something that builds your muscles, and you don't want to do too much of it, of any type of exercise, because you can overtrain yourself. What happens when you overtrain? You put your body in a stress response, and stress is the cause of belly fat. When cortisol is released, belly fat comes. What else? In eating, if you eat too little, you stress your body, it increases the cortisol and belly fat forms. And so you can eat less and exercise more and actually gain weight or not lose weight. In addition, most people go when they go on a treadmill and they do aerobic exercise and they say, well, this is good for my heart. Yes, in fact, it may be good for your heart to get it aerobically trained, but as a method for weight loss, it's not the best method for weight loss, because think about how many calories that you burn when you exercise. So 1 calorie is equal to 3,500 calories is equal to 1 pound. 3,500 calories is equal to 1 pound. And so you're going to have to go to the gym and burn 500 calories to lose 1 pound if you're going to keep your eating the same. And when I say the same, I'm not just talking about eating less. I'm talking about other strategies for eating that are going to burn fat, because there are fat burning strategies that you can use in your eating plan. So most people go to the gym, they restrict their calories, and then they wonder why they're not successful. Well, first of all, a lot of fat is not going to go away from doing aerobic exercise or spot training. And a lot of times the body's stressed. And so therefore you don't lose weight, because when your body's under stress position, it gains weight or holds on to the weight. What else is going on? Well, a lot of people simply aren't being proactive in their life with anything. They haven't decided to change their eating strategies and eating habits. They don't go out and do any exercise. And so when you don't do anything, you're going to have a state of disease that's going to come on. So you must be proactive. This is Jack LaLanne. Jack LaLanne passed away at 99. He is the father of modern health with juicing and smoothies and bodybuilding. And you'll see here with him and Mrs. LaLanne doing the juicer, but not just the juicers, the smoothies. And I recommend to all my clients that they get a Vitamix or a NutriBullet so that you can get the benefits of all the fruits and vegetables, because the whole thing is good. One of the tips that you have to understand about doing the strategy, though, is that you must put twice as much vegetables in as you do fruit. And you have to mix up the fruit and vegetable combination correctly so you don't spike up your blood sugar, which will cause you to have a release of insulin. And then insulin release causes you to do what? Hold on to weight. So you have to be practical in knowing what you don't know and learn what to do to mix foods correctly. So it's not as simple as counting the calories. And it's not as simple as just going to gym. You have to learn what do you do to mix it right so that your body stays healthy to 99 and beyond. So if you continue to do the same thing, Albert Einstein says that doing the same thing over and expecting a different result, yes, that's insanity. And so don't think that, again, when you continue to just go to the root of, I'm going to go to the gym again, and I'm going to count the calories again, that it's going to work. It usually has not worked in the past. Or let's say this, if it worked temporarily because you restrict your calories, how long were you able to sustain it? And the reason that you're not able to sustain it is because there's more to the equation than lower the intake and make more output. So I'm Dr. Veronica Anderson, as I said, and I want to tell you that in order for you to be healthy, you have to have some type of why. I'm showing you here the second half of my life. This is my wedding picture, and this is one of my whys. I want to stay healthy so that I can enjoy the second half of my life. I can succeed in my life purpose of doing webinars like this and seeing clients on site to help them with their health. But also, I'm waiting around as, I want to be able to see my grandkids and run around with them and enjoy them. You have to have a why. I do Taekwondo. I like to do running. I like to travel. And in order to be able to do some of those things, I have to be in good shape and good physical health. And think about how miserable it would be for my husband, for my kids, if I'm sick and they have to take care of me. I think about that. That's a why. What's another why? Well, I have both my parents are diabetics. And so for a long time, my focus has been, how do I stay healthy? How do I stay healthy? How do I stay healthy? Because I've seen what happens when people are diabetic, not just in my family, but I've seen it in my practice where I saw people going blind, going to dialysis, getting amputations, having stroke from diseases like diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol, which are definitely modifiable and reversible with lifestyle changes. This is my second wedding. That's Dr. Veronica Barbie. My second wedding was in France. And so we traveled to France. My husband's family is originally from West Africa, but a lot of them live in France now. My husband's first cousin is a priest in a very famous church. And so we were able to travel to France and be married in a very famous church by his cousin, the priest. And then the Wednesday after, our name was submitted to the Vatican and we got a blessing by the Pope. And we traveled to Rome that Wednesday to be in Rome at the time that this was happening. Now, health requires to be able to do stuff like that. Health is required because you got to be able to move around and do things. And also you want to be fit and trim and look good in a dress. This is my Taekwondo career. I'm currently a 3rd degree black belt. I'm a member of ATA, the American Taekwondo Association. I show my Taekwondo picture to remind you that it's not just about also aerobics and weight training, but you have to have good core strength to keep your balance. If you wonder why people, as they get older, they fall down and they break things, it's because their balance normally goes away with age. And we now know that it's approximation of how long you're going to live is how good is your core strength. If you can get down on the floor and get back up off the floor without using your hands, that is a marker for longevity. And you can train yourself to do this. But also, you have to realize that in your routine, you're going to have to do something to maintain your core strength and your balance. And so activities like martial arts or yoga or Tai Chi are important to maintain your balance and core strength. And core strength and balance, again, are associated with longevity. By the way, just want to let you know that Willie Nelson at 80 received his 8th degree black belt. So if you think that you're too old to do any of these type of arts, these arts are meant to go with you throughout your lifetime, and you get better and better and better. So you start slow and you keep going, you keep going, you keep going. Also, one of the great things about yoga and Tai Chi and other forms of martial arts like Taekwondo is they work on disciplining your mind and keep it strong with your body at the same time. So this is part of my why. My husband, he's also a Taekwondo master, and one of the areas that we bonded in was Taekwondo. So he's been doing it since he was a little child, and you see us in the picture, and he can jump up and do some amazing things. So you have to have a why in order to do it. It's your why. If it's just, my doctor says I got to lose weight, or my doctor says to lower the cholesterol, that why is not going to be strong enough for you. Why do you want to look fit and trim? Why is it that you want to look great when you go by the mirror? Do you want to be able to wear a bathing suit? Are you interested in traveling? Do you want to run around with your grandkids? What is your why? Not what does your doctor said. What is your why? So let's talk about stress now. There are 3 types of stress. As you can see, the physical stress. Playing a sport can be a physical stress. You can have good physical stresses or bad physical stresses. I had a big knee injury. I went out running one day and tripped and fell and tore my whole knee, detached the tendon. That is a physical stress. Increases the stress hormones in your body. Injuries. Or just playing a sport such as football or soccer or basketball, something that's physical. That's a stress. Chemical stress. Well, there's the chemical stresses in our environment in the air, but some of the most common chemical stresses that people come in contact with are 2 things that many people are on. Number 1, food is one of the largest chemical stresses that we have today. It is foreign material for your body. You get 35 to 40 tons of food in your lifetime. It is the biggest chemical stressor of your body. And think about how big it is now when food is processed or it's GMO, pesticides, hormones, antibiotics. Think about the stress. Those aren't meant to be in your body. And that, yes, does stress your body. The other chemical stress that's common to people today is drugs. I'm not talking just about illegal drugs. I'm talking about drugs such as you go on for common conditions, antibiotics, diabetes medicine, cholesterol medicine, cancer chemotherapies. Those are all chemical stressors. And you have to realize that they're not necessarily meant to be in your body in the first place. And so they build up, they accumulate, and they cause stress and can release the hormone cortisol also. Emotional stress. Emotional stress, the fear, the anger, the sadness, the concerns about your family, your job, your house. anything, the affairs of the world. You watch TV and see bad news. That is emotional stress, fear, anger, and sadness. So when most people say, I'm stressed, they're not necessarily thinking about the physical or chemical stress. They're thinking about the emotional stress, but yet all three are a big deal to your body and cause the hormones to increase. Specifically, cortisol. What's big deal about cortisol? Not only does it cause you to maintain that belly fat, the fat that's on the inside, it also affects on your immune system. So have you ever noticed how when you get really stressed, you tend to get sicker? Why does that happen? You get sick, a cold, the flu or something. You get sick because cortisol is intermingled with your immune system. And when you get stressed, the immune system works less effectively. So the purpose of food, according to the dictionary, is that which is eaten to sustain life, provide energy, and promote growth and repair tissues. Now think about how far we've come from that when we have all the GMOs, the pesticides, the antibiotics, and the hormones that are part of the food supply. Is this providing energy, promoting growth, repair tissue? No, that's not what it's doing today. It's one of the biggest stressors, and this is why you have to understand that food can be therapeutic or food can kill you. And that's what is happening to a lot of people in the Western world today. Their food is actually killing them slowly, slowly, slowly. The types of hormones cause two different states in your body. One is you want to burn fat, or the other is to store fat. And so if you want to our fat burning hormones, the testosterones, the growth hormones, adrenaline, the thyroid hormones, when they're in balance, they're also anti-aging. Who doesn't want to stay youthful? Keep your hormones in balance to burn your fat and stay youthful. But if you have too much insulin, too much cortisol, too much estrogen, and we all have those, they cause you to hold on to the fat. And so you see that there's a balance here that you must maintain. And if the balance is not there, it's quite difficult, if nearly impossible, to lose weight and sustain that weight loss. So if you want to get a new life, as one of my clients told me, you have to do things a little bit differently. So let's talk what's going on. I want you to look and figure out which of these body types is yours. Everybody tends towards a particular body type. These are the 4 that are prevalent and we're going to talk about because they have to do with hormones. And so the first body type where you tend to distribute fat below the waist, that's estrogen dominance. And estrogen dominance is associated with insulin resistance, which is on the spectrum of diabetes and includes hypoglycemia. So people who have insulin resistance or diabetes also have estrogen dominance, and their women tend to go towards this shape more because estrogen can be good in the right amount, but too much is not good because it throws off your metabolism and causes you to hold on weight. Estrogen dominance is really common peri and postmenopausal, and this is why women tend to gain more weight as they reach that midlife years. The next, the belly fat. That's caused by a dysfunction of the adrenals. The adrenals are the glands that sit above the kidneys, and the adrenals relieve both DHEA and cortisol. I'm going to specifically address cortisol because that's the one that causes the belly fat, but DHEA also plays a role. But cortisol goes on a curve. I'm going to show you that curve in a few slides. But it can be too much cortisol or too little cortisol, and you get belly fat, and not belly fat on the outside under the skin that you can exercise away. And it's the belly fat that's on the inside around the organs, the brown fat, the visceral fat, and that's the fat that's associated with heart disease. So belly fat and heart disease go together. This is what we a lot of times call the apple shape. And why is that? Think about it. Stress, we know, causes heart problems, and this is the mechanism, the cortisol being out of balance. The next picture, the third lady, shows what happens when you have a thyroid imbalance. When you have a thyroid imbalance, the whole body distributes weight pretty easily, and you get the slow metabolism, and It's usually underactive thyroid that's the problem. But overactive thyroid, is just as much as a problem. If your metabolism goes too fast, that's even a problem too. So thyroid and the adrenal are intimately linked together. When the thyroid is out of balance, a lot of times the adrenals become imbalanced. When the adrenal is imbalanced, a lot of times the thyroid becomes imbalanced. And so if one is imbalanced, you always have to check the other. And also, if you don't check both, then this could be a reason. You fix your thyroid, you don't fix your adrenals, it becomes quite difficult to maintain your ideal body size. The fourth picture is about the liver. What about the liver and weight? Well, the liver is meant to detoxify the body, to get rid of all of the waste that goes in the body that's not meant to be used. And people's liver becomes overloaded from food, from the environment. There's lots of toxins that you're exposed to, and the liver is the big detox organ in the body. And so when the liver is out of whack, you get a big belly. But a lot of times the big belly is from fluid, not just fat. And you don't have to be an alcoholic to get a liver that looks like, to get a liver that's causing a problem. You may notice that you have lab tests, and a few of the lab tests are abnormal, that are liver lab tests. Well, this usually indicates some type of toxic overload. It doesn't necessarily mean you have cirrhosis or you have hepatitis or one of the other diseases like that, but it does mean that your liver is saying, help, help, I'm in trouble. And a lot of times people gain weight in their midsection from having an overloaded liver. So what happens? People, a lot of times they go get labs, they have the thyroid symptoms, the thinning hair, they're tired, they're depressed, the skin is cold, they feel cold all the time. Well, this is the thyroid stimulating hormone, the TSH. And there's a big range by your lab, 0.3 to 5.7. And 0.3 to 5.7 is the lab range, but there's a functional range where people tend to feel good and not have the thyroid symptoms when you feel normal. And that range is much tighter. It tends to be between 1.8 and 3. So a lot of times you go to your doctor, you get it tested, they say your labs are normal, but from a functional range, meaning how do you really feel and how are you really functioning? The lab range is much tighter for where it needs to be. So if you're above 2.5 to 3, a lot of times you are exhibiting hypothyroid symptoms. And so this is why you can feel lousy and your labs are still normal. Let's talk about testosterone. Again, when you test things, you have to also test in the right place. So these are two hormones, testosterone and cortisol, where one of the best tests to do is not a blood test, but it is a saliva test. And again, you have to test it a different way. So for testosterone, also notice that this is the between 250 and 350 is when, between 250 and 650 is where people tend to feel good. That's more of a male range than a female range. Also, look at cortisol. That's the hormone that we call the stress hormone produced by the adrenals. Notice that red line. The red line is showing the curve for the day. That's called a circadian rhythm. And the circadian rhythm means it changes through the day. Well, the red curve is normal. What if yours is the curve that's the blue curve? Well, first you get it tested first thing in the morning, and it looks normal. But what happens during the day at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and right before bed? Well, if this curve is low, anybody wake up in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock? That's because your cortisol curve may be spiking too early because it causes you to get up. This mirrors your energy. What about 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Do you feel like you need a candy bar or a coffee, or you're really just drained of energy? What's happening? A lot of times your cortisol may be too low. And what you're doing is you're having these cravings so that you will get your cortisol curve up to get your energy up. And so think about how hard it is if your cortisol's up and you're waking up in the middle of the night, or when it gets to the middle of the afternoon, you got to drink coffee. Think about how hard it's going to be to lose your weight. Your hormones will always win. So there are some missing pieces in the puzzle of getting rid of belly fat and getting rid of any type of weight. First, nutrition, and the nutrition has to be customized. It's not just about eating a little bit of calories. It's usually about eating more food, the right food in the right time, and also eating for your body type. If you don't eat right for your body type, then all bets are off. Fitness, you have to do fitness right. It's not just going to the gym and doing aerobic exercise. You have to increase your metabolism. That means you have to build your muscle mass. And you can usually do this in about 2 hours a week. You don't have to go on the treadmill every day, all day. Yes, you're going to burn some calories, but if you increase your muscle mass, even when you're not at the gym, you're going to be burning calories 24 hours a day. But also, there's the detoxifications, your hormones, and your nervous system. We talked about the hormones. You have to get those in balance to be able to burn fat and not store it. But your nervous system is also important. If your serotonin or your dopamine are out of balance, or your GABA or any of the other ones, you'll feel sad or anxious or angry. But also, these cause addictions and cravings. And I bet you do know that people can be addicted to carbohydrates and addicted to certain types of food. Detoxification also ends up being important because you have to get the load off your liver so your metabolism increases also, and you utilize food better. Your whole digestive system, in fact, has to work optimally for you to maintain a healthy body weight. So you have to treat the whole person by putting all the pieces together. You cannot just treat one piece of this. If you treat just one piece, you only have 20% of the equation. But yet, if you treat 4 pieces and you leave out something like fitness, you can still have a measure of success. And so if you say, I hate going to the gym, you can be successful without going to the gym. It's recommended because going to the gym increases other types of substances in your body that are also associated with longevity. Again, you know that it's good for your cardiovascular system. But as far as weight loss and loss of belly fat, the fitness has to be done a particular way. But if you don't do it initially, you can still be successful. So you have to put all these pieces together right in order for you to be successful at being well overall. So what's missing from the puzzle for most people, though, is somebody to show them how to put the pieces together. A lot don't believe that your degree from the University of Google and your friendship with Dr. YouTube teach you how to implement these changes. They don't. Do you understand that even when people have talent, they need a mentor or a coach? Think about basketball players. They may be fabulously talented. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Steph Curry, but they still have coaches and they still have to hone their skills. Think about how you learned how to drive. When you learned how to drive, you read the book, you took the test in written, then you had to get in the car and do a certain amount of hours so that you knew how to do the skills. You had to practice. And when you practice, you did not get into the car by yourself. Somebody showed you. Let's extend this one further. Would you get into an airplane with a pilot who read about how to fly the plane at the University of Google? No, you would not. You understand that part of learning everything, including flying, is that somebody has to show you what to do. You learned how to do everything that way. And so the missing piece is getting you involved and somebody showing you how to do that. So one of the big issues is that people have insanity, but also procrastinate. You have to do something. You have to take action. And I'm going to ask you to take action when you finish doing this webinar, because there's a specific way that if you take action to at least find out how you can make these changes, you can make these changes with some simple, easy shifts. I showed you 5 ways, those 5 pieces that you have to shift and get right for you to be able to be successful. So can you predict your health in the future? Yes. First, you have to order the correct tests. You have to determine what's truly underlying the cause, which hormones are out of balance, which neurotransmitters are out of balance, is toxicity. You have to focus on the cause, not just the symptoms, the cause of what's going on. Do you have a food sensitivity and that's what's causing your thyroid problem? You have to correct the dysfunction, not just alter the labs with drugs. And this is what all the cholesterol medicines are doing. They're altering the labs, but they don't correct the dysfunction of what made the cholesterol elevated in the first place. And then you have to address the entire body. And you have to do this in a systematic way, a systematic approach. But then you have to have somebody who's going to mentor you and show you exactly how to do it. The average doctor visit is 7 to 8 minutes. When you go into the average doctor office, the 7 or 8 minutes they give you to say, what's the problem? Here's your medication, are not going to show you how to put those 5 puzzle pieces together. It requires some time and energy and learning for you to learn how to do it. So I offer to people the Pathway to Wellness program. And the Pathway to Wellness gives you independence and freedom. Why does it give you independence and freedom? Because it shows you exactly how to put those 5 pieces together for you. And your body is the lab. And then I look as the coach from the outside and tell you how to do it and how to do it better. And so we look at your blood work from a functional level. We assess what's going on with your hormones, and those can be done by questionnaires. No, but not just questionnaires. Sometimes people opt for lab tests, but guess what? From questionnaires, a lot of times I can tell which hormones are out of balance. And then there's exercise. It's figure out what is the right exercise for you and how do you do it? And you want to be most efficient at it. Detoxification is extremely important, even for people who are healthy. They have to keep their body detoxed because detoxification causes stress on the body and causes you to get out of balance. Nutrition has to be done in a particular way. And nutrition doesn't just mean eating lettuce. It means learning to combine foods so they are therapeutic. Hippocrates said, let the food be the medicine. So how do you make your food your medicine? Your mindset adjustment. And a mindset adjustment comes around understanding that what you've learned in the past, a lot of it is just wrong. And you have to adjust your mind to learn new material and throw away that old. But then the grocery store you have to learn how to do that. The grocery store means learning how to read the labels and learning what's in things. And it's not about counting calories and protein and carbs necessarily. It's about knowing what ingredients are in it and what are different names for different ingredients that could be tripping you up. Just imagine, did you know that Fiber One bar has 7 sources of sugar in it? And so if you wonder why there are foods out there that you believe are good for you, the manufacturers are masterful at marketing and getting you to buy food that may not be the best for you. But then there's a lifestyle adjustment and habit adjustment. And that's what happens as you go on a path. It's a journey. It's a curriculum. And so a personal lifestyle program is what you have to do to reverse your disease. And so I offer for you, normally my clients come in and the total value of the program is $200, the total value of the consultation and the wellness evaluation and the plan of action, all those pieces that I put together for you. Normally it's $287. But your investment after watching this webinar and you click on the link is $87, just $87 to find out how you make these shifts. And it's important for you to learn how to make these shifts. But also, if you have a family or a friend that wants to sign up with you at the same time, then the second person is $47. So for a small investment, you can learn what's going on with your body. We can do a wellness evaluation and set forth a plan of action so you know exactly what has to be done for you. Exactly what has to be done for you. So, procrastination has to come to an end today if you really would like to make a shift in your health. And procrastination really is the time we spend secretly hoping a miracle will occur and deliver us from our state of inertia. It's not going to happen. You have to take some kind of action. And when you invest a little bit of money and a little bit of time, you can make a major shift in a very short period of time. So imagine how you're going to feel when you're able to travel well, when you're able to play with the grandkids in the balls, when you feel good and you look in the mirror and you're able to go to the beach and have that beautiful bathing suit on. Think about how it is. And this can happen in a short period of time. So imagine what your life would be like without that belly fat, without those medications, without feeling winded when you walk up the steps. Imagine what it'll be like when you don't have to ask for the seatbelt extender. So I'm Dr. Veronica Anderson. This is Stress, Hormones, and Health. I'm a medical doctor, medical intuitive, trained in homeopathy. I'm also a radio host of Wellness for the Real World. My Wellness for the Real World program is meant to transform people's lives. So click on the link below and sign up for your consultation, and you'll have a major breakthrough just in the consultation. Thank you for coming to this webinar, and I look forward to working with you.